Welcome to Five Guys on the Five Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick and through Five Guys, 305 guys. I'm sorry. Of all days, Donno, for me to screw that up when the 305 is going to another national championship game. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick on Five Reasons Sports. I got Alex Donno. You can follow him at Alex Donno. The Miami Hurricanes. You come on here all the time, and I know you host the Canes show, Locked on Canes. Everybody should check that one out, as well as ours, Six Rings Canes. And you host your daily, your every day on them. We'll start here, and I'll get to the sponsor in a second. Did you think in your wildest dreams a month ago, 2 months ago, even as they were sweating out, whether it was going to be them or Notre Dame, that we would be here, that they'd be hosting a national championship game in Steve Ross's stadium? Steve Ross's stadium. Did you think there would be any chance of that?
No, and there's, different scenarios. I mean, 2 months ago, or a little over 2 months ago, when they were 6-2 coming off the loss to SMU, like the team was going through a rough stretch. I mean, all the self-inflicted wounds, 2 losses in 3 games, the offense had become predictable. And after losing to SMU, like it felt like they had no chance to even get into the playoff at that point. I mean, thankfully, they were able to finish the season so strong, and I guess enough like other teams around the country lost to kind of facilitate them getting in. And then like you fast forward to selection day for the CFP playoff, and yeah, we had to sweat that one out, right? I mean, Notre Dame had been ranked in front of Miami for most of that 6-week process, and they had opportunities to move Miami into the field, and they hadn't done it until that final selection day. And wow, like the playoff committee has been validated, for sneaking Miami in, and now Miami's won 3 games. And like, so no, I didn't imagine, like even before the season started, I felt like Miami was a playoff caliber team, but I didn't imagine they would win multiple playoff games and actually get to this point. And you think about the road that they've had to go through, and of course, if you're going to actually hoist a national championship, you still have to win one more game, and they'll probably be an underdog, either of these teams that they face coming up in their home stadium. But to even get this close, like if you had told me, hey, they're going to have to go to Texas A&M and win on the road, and then they're going to have to take on the defending national champs with Jeremiah Smith and the whole shebang there, and then I guess Ole Miss wasn't the other team people thought would be there. They thought Georgia, but you had to beat the team that beat Georgia, and the last team standing from the SEC. I mean, Miami had the toughest road just to get into the national championship game. And so this team is super battle tested. And no, I didn't expect them to get this far in my wildest dreams. And it's really felt like a dream this last month or so for them to be here.
And now there's a chance for a third championship by a pro or college team, a major team in South Florida in 7 months. The Panthers, Inter Miami, and the Canes. And meanwhile, all anybody wants to talk about is the middling Dolphins and Heat. And I don't even know middling is the word for the Dolphins. But we'll talk about we're going to talk about the Dolphins here in a second, as I just recorded an episode of 5 on the Floor. We're going to talk about the Dolphins and also the Canes' chances against these two teams, depending on who gets in against them. Of course, Indiana and Oregon. Indiana would be a great story for the quarterback, obviously, and that would be a lot of fun. We'll get to that in a second, though. We are sponsored here by Prize Picks. Use code 5 FIVE. Put down your $5. You get $50 in free lineups. If you see a different code in there, enter ours. Actually, I put the new link in the description here so that everybody can link up and get right to our code, which populates automatically. Play up to two to six players. We do want to tell you, while PrizePicks is legal in Florida, playing college football right now is not. So we have a lot of viewers from outside of the state. I know that from looking at our analytics. So if you're a Canes fan outside the state, the odds are you probably can play some Canes players in the national championship game. So we wanted to point that out. Otherwise, you can definitely play NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. So check it out. It's prizepicks.com. Use the code FIVE. We're going to pivot to Dolphins here in a second because there's some breaking news there. But your preference here, would you rather see, from a Canes perspective, would you rather see Indiana or Oregon?
It's really tough to even. I think they're two excellent teams. I mean, I guess like you could argue Indiana is the better team. They're the only unbeaten. They actually beat Oregon in the regular season. Part of me thinks it's going to be tough for them to beat Oregon twice. So we'll see what happens tonight. But like Indiana obviously has had the better season. I feel like Miami might match up a little bit better than Indiana despite that, because Miami tends to match up well with the teams that sort of play their style, right? The big physical, because I think Miami is actually, more physical, and they have more talent than Indiana. I mean, obviously Indiana, they beat Ohio State, who has more talent than them, and they're a phenomenal football team with a really intelligent, good quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. But I think Miami matches up favorably, probably more favorably against Indiana than Oregon. But listen, it'd be fun either way, Ethan, because either way, Fernando Mendoza from South Florida comes back to town. There's a great storyline there. Miami faced him before in Cal last year, and that was a crazy game. You stayed up till 2 a.m. and you watched that ridiculous Miami comeback. So Fernando Mendoza comes back home, or Mario Cristobal gets to go up against his former team. So I think I think either way it would be a great game. I was looking at some hypothetical betting odds, and I think they would consider Miami a 1.5 underdog against Oregon, or about a 5 to 5.5 point underdog against Indiana. So either way, Miami would be considered an underdog in their home stadium, and they would also be considered the road team in their home stadium, because the home team designation goes to the higher seed.
And just to be clear on this too, they don't get more seats just because it's their stadium. So the seats are divvied up. This is obviously NCAA that's handling all of this. I do think either storyline is great, but Mendoza coming home to play against them would be fantastic, and particularly because it's been such a storybook season for them. And honestly, I don't put anything past UM right now if Beck is going to play poise. Like, that was always my question this season. We know Fletcher. I mean, what's Fletcher averaging now? 130 yards in the playoff or something along those lines. And you know what the receivers are capable of, and we saw that last night. And obviously the defense has won them a couple games pretty much on its own. But Beck did enough, and that's the kind of drive at the end there that cements you. And I wouldn't put anything past him. My question this year was always him, honestly. And I know you follow it a lot more closely than I do, but I mean, you were going from the number 1 overall pick at quarterback and had to make things work. And I just wonder what Cam would have done with the rest of this talent.
Oh, yeah. Well, they wouldn't have 2 losses. That's for sure.
No, they would not. They would not. But yeah, we'll see what happens tonight. But it is a great story, and Mario has validated himself. There's no question. And it's remarkable because you look at the paths to win these championships. The Panthers, were favored coming in this time, but it was not an easy road. Inter Miami had a lot of bumps during their season, a lot, and then Messi just kind of took over. There were a lot of questions about the coach and all that. And in this case with UM, there were questions obviously about Mario's handling of game situations, timeouts, all that kind of stuff that came up. And like you mentioned, again, after the SMU game, I don't think anybody thought that they would be here. And here's a stat as we pivot into the Dolphins now. Ready for this one? I put this on Twitter. Since the Dolphins last won a playoff game, not a championship, playoffs, we're talking playoffs. Since they last won a playoff game, did you see my tweet, or can you guess this, or should I just give it away?
Give it away. I'm sure it's awful for the Dolphins. Well, what's the stat?
Since the Dolphins last won a playoff game on December 30th, 2000, there have been 10 championships. This could be the 10th championship won. It doesn't even include all the other finals appearances by the Heat.
Yeah.
This could be the 10th championship won by the other major teams in town. So, one for the Marlins, because one predated that, right? So 1 for the Marlins, 2 for the Panthers, 3 for the Heat. This would be this could be the second for UM.
The Hurricanes, yeah.
And I'm missing with the other one. I'm sorry.
Inter Miami.
And Inter Miami's got 1. Right. So there's already been 9.
Wow.
This could be 10. 10 championships. And again, that doesn't include 4 additional, or was it 4 additional finals appearances by the Heat? Yeah, 4 additional finals appearances by the Heat for 7 in total. The Marlins obviously have not gone that deep. And another finals appearance by the Panthers, who got to 1 and lost. Yeah. Which tells you where the Dolphins have been. So let's pivot to that. They have fired Mike McDaniel. On a scale of 1, you were dissatisfied by that, to 10, you were satisfied by that. Where would you put that?
I mean, I would say it like a 9. I was satisfied by it. I think the only reason why I wouldn't say 10 was, even when the Dolphins fire a guy that I think should be fired, they still found a way to mishandle it, because they go from, within a couple of days, they go from, we love Mike, Mike is our guy, and he's going to be sitting in on interviews for a new GM, to like a couple days later, oh yeah, just kidding, he's fired. Like,
yeah, right.
And obviously what changed was, John Harbaugh becoming available. All of a sudden, like, Stephen Ross is like the meme of the guy walking with his girlfriend and he's glancing over at the other lady walking by. That was Harbaugh. And so, like, a move, I thought it was right to make that move, because Ethan, I mean, I've said it with you 1,000 times. If you're going to clean house, you have to actually clean house. If you're going to bring in a new GM and a new quarterback, you got to bring in a new head coach. And so, listen, like, I honestly hope Mike lands on his feet somewhere and can make it work as a high level NFL coach. I just firmly believe that in sports, sometimes things reach an expiration date and the cycle is over, and like, he's no longer the right guy here. Doesn't necessarily mean he can't be the right guy somewhere else. But I think for the Dolphins, starting over was really the only way to do it. So yeah, I would say I'm at a 9. And if they had been more decisive in making this move, I would have been at a 10.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed by how the whole tenure worked out, because I had really high hopes for him. I wanted it to work for him because I kind of liked his style when he came in. But it was clear that a combination of Greer missing on some big stuff, Mike never really improving until late as a game manager. I thought he figured it out about halfway through the last season about running the ball and playing a little differently, adding the 6 offensive linemen, all the things that he did, but it just took so damn long to get there. And it did seem like he lost the locker room. The players coach thing only works for a certain period of time. And I think, as you mentioned, there was an expiration date there. They didn't handle it perfectly. I am concerned this is going to be another Steve Ross special where he goes after the guy, doesn't get the guy, and then ends up hiring some first-year head coach again. Alfredo made a great point yesterday. He was on 5 on the floor with me. We were talking about the differences between the Heat and the Dolphins. And he, of course, one of the hosts of 3 yards per carry. And he said the difference between Huizenga and Ross was Huizenga got the guy. Like, Huizenga got he got Jimmy, he got Saban, he got Parcells, he got the guys. It's just that all 3 of those guys basically checked out once they got to the Dolphins, right? Yeah. Saban didn't want to be here really for very long. Neither does anybody in his family. Parcells wanted to play the ponies, ride around in his golf cart, and turn everything over to Tony and Jeff. And Jimmy was playing with his Yorkie Buttercup and trading stocks and turning the team over to Wanstead. I think I got the guy. Now we'll see if Ross can actually get the guy. I've wanted them to get John Harbaugh for years. I didn't think he'd be available. I just don't have high hopes he's get him. All right, so to pivot here, we'll do more on this. And everybody should check out 3 yards per carry and our other scouting the Finns and our other podcasts on this. Jon-Eric, Sullivan. I will say that I don't know a lot, although I've done some research this morning. Hussam is in our network is very high on him. Says he's going to focus on the trenches. He goes for best player available, not need.
Thank goodness. I like that.
And he's coming from an organization that has had success. I mean, they have had, and the other thing they have done consistently, and this doesn't mean it's been him, and you never know who it is. That's the problem sometimes. But is that they've always planned for the quarterback position. The Green Bay has done that as well as anybody. Are we? I mean, he's in charge now. He's going to hire the coach. So are we okay with this from what we've seen so far?
Yeah. I mean, it looks like he's got a strong track record in Green Bay, and all along I have been saying I want the next GM to have input and, in this case, hopefully final say in hiring the head coach. So I'm on board with it fully.
Yeah, well, look, that to me has been the biggest thing. We've talked about all the half measures that they've taken over the years. This may be another case. These things are not easy to execute. I'm not saying they are, especially when you have as many bad years as the Dolphins and you have need for change. I think that the end result of this may be better than the execution of this. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at too. Like, they're going to come out of this season, which was a 7-10 disappointing season, really with no Tyreek anymore, likely no Tua anymore, no McDaniel, no Greer, no Ramsey, no Jalen Phillips. A lot of people that we talked about prior to the season are no longer in the picture, and it does feel like a reset. And Dolphin fans are going to have to be patient. But to close this out, how patient can Dolphin fans be when I cite that stat that I gave you earlier, that every team in this town wins championships or reaches final rounds, and the Dolphins can't win a stinking playoff game? Like, how patient can they be expected to be? Another rebuild of 2-3 years?
We have no other choice. I mean, I think it's just one of those things where staying the course and trying to put Band-Aids on a deep cut is kind of what we've been doing for the last couple of years. And it sucks because, at the end of the Adam Gase era, it's, kind of billed as a full rebuild. And I guess it was that, except for, Chris Greer being the holdover. Everything else was basically a full rebuild. And then, they got impatient with Brian Flores. I guess he was too cranky and he had to go. And then, so I don't know what other choice we have, Ethan. And I know it's frustrating because a lot of other rebuilds in the NFL have gone a lot more quickly than ours. Like, New England was still in their phase when we started to rebuild, and then their rebuild started after ours, and it's progressing faster than ours.
Right.
Yeah, their rebuild was like 3 years, and our rebuild is like 25 years. Yep. But I don't know what other choice we have. I mean, we just have to continue to love this team, and we have to, I guess, be thankful that we're demolishing it, and hopefully this rebuild goes better than the last one.
Well, look, Steve Ross has a stadium, and you can host a lot of parades there for other teams.
Right, yeah.
It's basically
not your own. You can host other teams' parades.
That's what it should. I mean, you could be UM winning a national championship. Panthers could have. Look, the Panthers didn't really venture out of Broward County, but that's on the Broward-Dade line. They can have their next parade inside the stadium. Everybody can have a parade inside the stadium except the Dolphins. All right, we appreciate it. Alex, we'll follow his great work on Locked On Canes, specifically this week. Also, our guys, Vish, Danny, Jazz, Larry, and the crew on Six Rings Canes. This is a Canes week here, but obviously you can still get your Heat coverage on this channel as well. Use code 5FIVE, play everything over the weekend, and if you're outside the state of Florida, if you're lucky enough to be outside this beautiful state, then you can play the Canes National Championship game there as well. Have a good one, everybody.
See ya.